Today we're going to be replacing our instrument cluster bulbs on this 99 Civic SI. As you can see on the left hand side of the dash, that tack is pretty dim. You can't really hardly see the needle, and towards the bottom there it is pretty dim also. There's also a few other warning bulbs that are out. So you're going to start off removing these two screws on the top side of that cluster cover. I'd recommend a shorter screwdriver to fit in there. A longer screwdriver can contact that bottom side of that panel, so a shorter one's going to fit best in there. There's going to be that plastic cover. It's just two retainer clips. You'll give it like a firm tug and pull out straight. They're just popped into place. You'll see that there's 4 screws here that will have to be removed. It's pretty easy to remove. You can move the column down all the way. I'd recommend that. It gives you a little bit more room. There will be a few connector ends on the back side. With this one, there's 2 long blue ones, a yellow, and then a green one. These electrical connectors, you just depress that tab on the bottom side and it pops right out. And the cluster will roll right outside of the dash. So we're going to replace these bulbs on the back side here. They use a 74 series bulb on the small black connectors, and then for the gray connectors they use a 24 series bulb. For this one large one, it's a 194. As you can see here on some of these bulbs, they have like a black tint to them, meaning that they're burned out. Something you'll also know on these sockets is that the connector ends are burned. That's just from excessive resistance. When you get resistance in an electrical circuit like that, it causes a lot of heat, and that's where you get the burning of these like sockets here. The connectors and everything look good on them, so we're going to go ahead and reuse them. If they're burnt, you can get one out of a junkyard. They sell them online as well. It's going to be a Toshiba T-2. I believe it's a T5, and then there's also a gray 6.5 millimeter is what you would also see for the larger bulbs there. And you're going to have 11 of these 74 series bulbs, 5 of these 24 series bulbs, and 1 of those large 194 series bulbs. This SI cluster doesn't use all those sockets. It may be different for the EX and GX models. Automatics as well could be different, or manual could be different. As you can see, some of these bulbs are burnt out. We're going to just replace the ones that are bad. And you can look kind of close to see if the filament's burnt out or if it's separated. With some of these bulbs being older, some of them burnt out and kind of warping the plastic, it is kind of a pain to remove them a little bit, so kind of take your time with it. Wiggling back and forth seems to be the best method for removing them. Some of these bulbs here will project down onto the cluster. That'll be these 2 bulbs on the front side here that actually projects down onto the needles. Something you also want to do is double check and make sure the contact pads, that little copper colored piece there where the socket sits on, is kind of clean and clear. Make sure it's not burned or anything like that. Something I did notice with these 74 series bulbs, it is the correct bulb size for these T2 style fittings. What I would recommend is kind of pay attention to them, because it does kind of push out the plastic a little bit. So it is a little bit more of a pain to get them installed, but they do work, and it is the correct rating for these clusters. What I ended up doing here was removing the harness and then installing this front side bulb, giving the wire enough slack there, and then twisting it in, and then rerouting the harness around. There's a little tab on the front side, on the back side, and then there's a little channel it sits to on the back side, top, and then midway down, and then it runs back into that cluster on the back side there. Here we'll just kind of assemble the bulbs real quick and just install them in their respective sockets. You're going to go ahead and get this thing put back together. Snap in all your connectors. There is a dowel or two dowels that this cluster sits on the bottom side. Make sure that sits in place. What I do is I loosely install all four of those screws, making sure everything's square, and then I will do like a final tightening on them. And then here you'll see the two little retaining tabs. Those will snap in place on the rectangular cutouts on the bottom side. It does take a little bit of working to get it into place, and then it snaps straight in. And then we'll install the two retaining screws on the top side. You can see the before and the after, and now you can see the tacks lighten up pretty well. You can see that it's pretty clear. The bulbs in the center also are pretty clear. Definitely quite a bit of an improvement compared to how it was. Hopefully this helps someone out. Thanks for watching.